The Fortress of No Return. Subscribe, like, and share for more real-world documentaries like this. Over a vast expanse of concrete and steel, surrounded by desolate hills, the blue-gray dawn light reveals an architectural monster rising from the earth. CECOT, El Salvador's mega-prison, the world's highest security facility. As mist rolls across the razor-wire walls, the voiceover begins. Behind these 9-meter walls lies a place where the world's most dangerous men vanish, not just from society but from existence itself. The birth of a fortress. In 2022, the small Central American nation of El Salvador shocked the world by unveiling this titanic facility. CECOT, Centro de Confinamiento del Terrorismo, wasn't built to reform. It was built to contain. 8 massive blocks sprawl across 410 acres of reinforced land, capable of holding 40,000 inmates, the most violent individuals in the hemisphere. Each block is encased in 3 layers of fencing, watched over by 19 armed towers and an army of 600 soldiers who patrol the perimeter day and night. President Nayib Bukele's administration launched a sweeping crackdown on gang violence that had terrorized the country for decades. Between March 2022 and mid-2023, over 70,000 suspected gang members, nearly 2% of the adult population, were arrested. To house them, CECOT was born. Those who enter here, a soldier tells the camera, never leave again. The arrival. A convoy of black buses snakes down the remote highway under moonlight. Inside, prisoners sit chained together, heads bowed, barefoot, silent. Their tattoos, MS-13, Barrio 18, and symbols of death and loyalty, stretch across their faces and arms. They arrive in groups of 200 at a time, marched barefoot into the prison's central yard under floodlights. No one speaks. Every command is absolute. Guards in black masks and ballistic vests move like machines. They strip-search each prisoner, scan their bodies with high-resolution X-rays capable of detecting microchips, blades, or SIM cards. Even bones appear on the monitors. Nothing goes in, says the warden, that can bring danger out. Inside, all phones, watches, and jewelry are confiscated. Even wedding rings. The facility's signal jammers block every electronic transmission within a 2-kilometer radius. Once inside, there is no contact with the world, not even a call to family. A world erased. After months of waiting, the media team is granted rare permission to film. Their cameras capture the ritual of entry, layers of doors, each thicker than the last, sealing shut behind them with mechanical precision. At every checkpoint, their names are logged, fingerprints scanned, equipment inspected. The process takes more than an hour. Every door that closes behind you, says one guard, reminds you that leaving is no longer an option. Inside, time loses meaning. The lights remain on 24 hours a day, so inmates never know when it's night. They live in constant exposure, watched by hundreds of cameras and armed guards above catwalks. Each cell, barely large enough to breathe in, holds between 80 and 150 prisoners. There is no furniture, no ventilation, no daylight. Only steel bunks, shared toilets, and one blue water barrel that serves for both washing and drinking. The rule of fear. CECOT's regime is built on total control. Prisoners rise, eat, and sleep by command. They are shaved every 2 weeks, not for vanity but security. Long hair or beards could conceal weapons or contraband. There is no yard time, no family visits, no letters. Their world is walls. Guards patrol from above, faceless, masked, unidentifiable. Many live with their families in secret locations to avoid retaliation. Gangs once ruled entire neighborhoods. Even now, their influence outside the walls remains strong. One officer puts it bluntly. If they could, they'd burn the country down again. But here, they burn under the lights instead. A nation watching. As dawn breaks over the complex, the camera pans across thousands of men kneeling in identical white shorts and slippers, hands bound behind them, heads bowed to the concrete. They are silent. So broken. El Salvador's message to the world is clear. The era of fear is over. Yet the question lingers beneath the surface. What happens when justice becomes isolation? When order demands the erasure of humanity itself? The descent. The heavy steel door slams behind the crew. The sound echoes down the narrow concrete hallway, where fluorescent lights hum overhead without pause. The air feels thick, recycled, metallic, and cold. Rows of identical doors line the passage, each marked with a number. Behind them, the most feared criminals in the world live in what can only be described as organized despair. "This is Module 3, whispers a soldier. "You'll find more than 2,500 men here. Murderers, enforcers, gang leaders. They'll never breathe free air again. the concrete hive. Each of CECOT's 8 modules contains 32 identical cells. Every cell, meant for 80, often holds over 120 inmates. Inside there are no windows, no fans, and no natural light. When the steel gates slide open, the stench of sweat, bleach, and human confinement fills the air. The camera captures a haunting image: 4-level bunk frames packed wall to wall, stacked like shelves in a warehouse. Prisoners sit motionless, back straight, eyes blank. They wear only white t-shirts, shorts, and plastic slippers. No personal items. No books. No sound except the rhythmic thud of boots from patrolling guards above. "They've been here so long," says one officer, "that they've forgotten what a sunrise looks like." The open corner of each cell holds 2 metal toilets, shared by more than 100 men. There's a single plastic bucket used for washing and a blue barrel that stores drinking water. The prisoners sleep on bare steel with nothing but thin white sheets. Order through control. CECOT's design ensures that even rebellion is impossible. The floor is covered with small loose pebbles, deliberately placed so that every step creates noise, alerting guards to movement. From the elevated catwalk, armed sentries peer down through reinforced glass. Beneath them, cameras capture every inch, every breath 24 hours a day. When asked about their safety, one officer replies flatly, "There is no safe here. Only control." Meals arrive 3 times a day, identical every time: rice, beans, pasta, and 2 tortillas. No meat. No fruit. No variation. Prisoners eat with their hands and return their trays spotless, a rule enforced by punishment. Those who disobey are escorted away, their destination, the isolation block. The isolation block. Deep inside the compound lies a hallway darker than the rest. The air changes, stale and still. Guards open a steel door revealing a concrete box barely large enough to stand in. This is solitary confinement, where silence itself becomes torture. The prisoner sleeps on a concrete slab, drinks from a tin basin, and uses a single open drain as both toilet and sink. There's no clock, no sound, and barely any light. A faint sunbeam filters through a tiny hole in the wall, marking the only sense of time. "Inside," says the warden, "you lose all concept of day or night." Within hours, men begin to talk to themselves. After days, they beg to see another face. Inmates can spend up to 15 days in this state, but many remain longer when they break the rules. Even the guards admit that no one leaves unchanged. A conversation with Psycho. The crew is granted a rare interview with Marvin Ernesto Medano Vasquez, known inside as Psycho. 12 guards stand close as he's brought in, shackled, masked, eyes darting. He removes his mask when ordered. His skin is covered with ink, MS-13, spider webs, and teardrops under his left eye. "When did you join?" the reporter asks. 2004, he replies calmly. "But I started when I was 11. The street raised me, not my parents." His voice cracks briefly, then steadies. He speaks of how poverty and survival pushed him into violence, how power replaced family. When asked how many lives he took, he hesitates. "More than 50, he mutters. You stop counting after a while. Now at 41, he's been inside CECOT for years, forgotten by everyone except his memories. "Sometimes I cry," he says quietly. "I think about my son. Last time I saw him he was 5. He's 21 now. I want him to live clean. To do the opposite of me." Even here, in this fortress of iron and order, guilt leaks through the cracks. Faith and routine. Once a week, prisoners are taken out, not for freedom but for controlled exercise. Under full surveillance, they do push-ups and jog in silence while a preacher reads aloud from a Bible. "We remind them," the preacher says, "that even if man has locked them away, God still watches." For 1 hour each week, these men are no longer numbers. They're human again, if only briefly. The illusion of peace. When night falls, though no one inside can tell, the lights stay bright. Guards pace above like shadows, rifles in hand. Below, hundreds of men lie awake, towels draped over their eyes, trying to imagine the dark. CECOT was built to bring peace to El Salvador, and it has. Crime rates plummeted, fear dissolved from the streets. But inside these walls, a new kind of fear was born. Not of gangs, not of guns, but of forgetting what it means to live. The price of order. Morning light spills over the skyline of San Salvador. Markets reopen, children walk to school, and soldiers patrol empty streets once ruled by fear. For the first time in decades, El Salvador feels calm. This peace, the narrator says, was bought with walls and silence. Far from the capital, beyond barren hills and endless fences, CECOT still stands, vast, cold, and humming with electric tension. The gangs that once ruled the streets now live behind those walls, stripped of their power, their tattoos fading under artificial light. The president's gamble. President Nayib Bukele's war on crime is both praised and condemned. Supporters call him a hero, the man who ended decades of bloodshed. Critics call him a dictator, a leader who traded freedom for control. Since the 2022 crackdown, over 70,000 arrests have filled prisons like CECOT to the brink. While violence in the streets has dropped by over 95%, human rights groups claim that innocent citizens have been swept into the same cells as killers. Families still search for sons who vanished overnight. Their only hope, catching a glimpse of a familiar face in televised footage from CECOT. "We don't even know if he's alive," says one mother. "Maybe he's there. Maybe he's gone." Inside the fortress. Inside, life follows a rhythm carved by order and obedience. 3 identical meals a day. Lights that never dim. No contact with the outside world. Every action, from sleeping to breathing, happens under surveillance. Some inmates pray. Some stare at the ceiling for hours, whispering into the noise. A few find peace in faith, others fade into quiet madness. The warden calls it rehabilitation through silence. But to those inside, it feels like being buried alive with eyes open. A nation reborn, or repressed. Outside, the transformation is undeniable. Once, El Salvador was known as the world's murder capital. Now, it ranks among the safest nations in the Americas. Businesses reopen. Tourists return. The streets where gang tattoos once dictated fear are now patrolled by soldiers, not criminals. But beneath the order, questions grow. How long can a nation survive when its peace depends on the perpetual suffering of others? Can justice still be justice when it silences the innocent along with the guilty? In CECOT, says a former guard, you stop seeing people. You just see bodies, obedient, quiet, erased. Closing reflection. The documentary ends with a slow aerial shot of the prison, a gray monolith surrounded by green hills. The world watches, divided. To some, it is a symbol of salvation. To others, a warning. El Salvador chose order over freedom, peace over mercy. But the question remains, at what cost?